In this video, we will be multiplying decimals. The I can statement is I can multiply positive and negative decimals. So you have previously learned how to multiply positive decimals together. Now we are going to be multiplying with some negative decimals. So we need to recall our integer rules. So a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative is going to be positive. Now, a positive times a negative or a negative times a positive is going to be negative. Okay? Now recall, an odd number of negatives will have a product that is negative. So for example, if I am multiplying 3 negatives together, my answer, the outcome, will also be negative. Okay, let's look at some steps. Step 1, I'm going to multiply the numbers together and ignore the decimals. Step 2, I'm going to count the total number of digits to the right of each decimal. Step 3, place a decimal point with the same number of digits behind the point. And step 4, determine if the product is positive or negative. So again, you have previously done step 1 through step 3, which is just multiplying. However, step 4 is now determining if the product is positive or negative. So that's the only difference when we are multiplying with a negative now. All right, so let's look at an example. Here I have negative 0.005 times 1.3. So I'm going to put 0.005 and I'm going to multiply it by 1.3. I do not have to line up the decimals, and I'm going to multiply how I normally do. Okay, 5 times 3, that gives me 15. Well, 0 times 3 is 0, but plus the 1, that will give me 1. Okay, now 0 times 3, that will give me 0, and 0 times 3, that will also give me 0. All right, now I'm going to add my 0. I'm going to move on to 1 times 5. That will give me 5. 1 times 0, that will give me 0. 1 times 0 is 0. And 1 times 0 is 0. I'm going to go ahead and add. 5 plus 0 is 5. 1 plus 5 is 6. I have 0, 0, and 0. All right, now I'm going to look at my digits to the right of my decimal. So my first number, I have 3 digits to the right, and my second number, there's 1. So altogether, I have 4 digits to the right. So I'm going to go 4 to the left and place my decimal point. So my answer is 0.0065. However, I have to ask myself, is it positive or negative? So up here, you can see I have a negative times a positive. So I reviewed the multiplication rules because that will come in handy when we're multiplying those negatives. So here, a negative times a positive, and we know that the answer is negative. So that tells me it is negative 0.0065. Okay, let's look at another example. Here I have negative 1,456 times negative 12.5. All right, I'm going to write my multiplication out. So 1,456 times 12.5. 5 times 6 will give me 30. I'm going to do 5 times 5 is 25 plus the 3 will give me 28. And now 5 times 4 is 20, plus the 2 is 22. And 5 times 1 is 5, plus the 2 will give me 7. I'm going to move on to my digit, my other digit. However, I'm going to add my 0 first, fill that in. 2 times 6 will give me 12. 2 times 5 is 10, plus the 1 will give me 11. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. And now 2 times 1 is 2. I'm going to fill in my zeros. So now I have 2 zeros I'm going to fill in. And I'm going to move on to 1. So 1 times 6, that will give me 6. 1 times 5, that will give me 5. 1 times 4 is 4. And lastly, 1 times 1 is 1. So I'm going to go ahead and add 0 plus 0 plus 0 gives me 0. 8 plus 2 is 10. 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 6, that will give me 10. 1 plus 7 plus 9 plus 5 is 22. 2 plus 2 plus 4, that will give me 8. And then I just have 1. I'm going to look at how many digits I have to the right of my decimal. So here I just have 1, so I'm going to add 1. And my answer is 18,200, but I'm going to ask myself, is it positive or negative? And so if I look up above, I have a negative times a negative. Well, I know a negative times a negative is equal to a positive. So my answer is positive. So therefore it is 18,200. All right, let's look at your turn number 1. So you can go ahead and pause the video and do the problem on your own and then unpause it to check your work. Okay, so go ahead and hit the pause button. Okay, so here I have negative 45.75 times negative 32.8. So I'm going to multiply. So 8 times 5, that will give me 40. 8 times 7, that will give me 56 plus the 4, that will give me 60. 8 times 5 is 40 plus the 6 is 46. And now 8 times 4 is 32 plus the 4 will give me 36. I'm going to add my 0, fill that in. 2 times 5, that will give me 10. Now 2 times 7 is 14 plus the 1 is 15. 2 times 5 is 10 plus the 1 is 11. And then 2 times 4 is 8, plus the 1 is 9. I'm going to fill in my zeros. Now I'm going to do 3 times 5, that is 15. 3 times 7 is 21, plus the 1 is 22. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17. And 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. All right, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add. 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 plus 0 again is 0. 6 plus 5 plus 5, that will give me 16. 1 plus 6 plus 1 plus 2, that will give me 10. 1 plus 3 plus 9 plus 7 will give me 20. 2 plus 3, that gives me 5. And here I just have 1. I'm going to look at how many digits are to the right of my decimals. Here I have 2 and here I have 1. So I'm going to add those together and that is 3. So I'm going to move over 1, 2, and 3 and place my decimal. So I have 1,500.6. But again, I got to ask myself, is my answer positive or negative? I come up here, I have a negative times a negative. And I know a negative times a negative is positive. So my answer is positive 1,500.6. All right, let's look at your turn number 2. So go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so I have 5.321 times negative 0.9. I'm going to go ahead and multiply those. 9 times 1, that will give me 9. 9 times 2, that is 18. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 1 is 28. 9 times 5 is 45, plus 2 is 47. I'm going to move on to 0 after I fill in the 0. Okay, 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. And 0 times 5 is 0. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add. 9 plus 0 is 9. 8 plus 0 is 8. 8 plus 0 again is 8. 7 plus 0 is 7. And 4 plus 0 is 4. Now, if I look up here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to move 4. Here's 3, 4 place the decimal, and I get 4.7889. I ask myself, is my answer positive or negative? So I come up here. I have a positive times a negative. So I'm going to write positive times negative, and I know that the outcome is going to be negative. So I cannot forget that negative, or else my answer would be wrong. So it is negative 4.7889. All right, let's look at your turn number 3. So go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so I have negative 874 times 0.34. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply. 4 times 4, that will give me 16. 4 times 7 is 28, plus the 1 will give me 29. 4 times 8 is 32, plus the 2 will give me 34. I'm going to fill in a 0, and now I'm going to do 3 times 4. That gives me 12. 3 times 7 is 21, plus the 1 will give me 22. 3 times 8, that is 24, plus the 2 will give me 26. I'm going to fill in my zeros, and now I'm going to move on to my 0 times 4. That gives me 0. 0 times 7 is 0, and lastly, 0 times 8 is also 0. I'm going to add, so 6 plus 0 is 6. 9 plus 2 plus 0 is 11. 1 plus 4 plus 2 plus 0 is 7. 3 plus 6 plus 0 is 9. And 2 plus 0 is 2. And I come up here and look, I move 1, 2. Okay, so I have 2 digits to the right. So I go over 1, 2 and put my decimal point. So I have 297.16. I'm not done because I always have to ask myself, is it positive or negative? So I come up here, negative times a positive. Well, I know by the integer, the multiplication rules, a negative times a positive is negative. So my answer is negative 297.16. All right, let's do one more your turn. So go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so here I have negative 183.781 times negative 4. So I'm going to multiply. So here 4 times 1, that will give me 4. 4 times 8, that is 32. 4 times 7 is 28, plus the 3 will give me 31. 4 times 3 is 12, plus the 3 will give me 15. And then 4 times 8 is 32, plus 1 is 33. 4 times 1 is 4, plus the 3, that will give me 7. Okay, and now I'm going to look at my decimals. I move 1, 2, 3 to the left to get to my decimal. So here I go 1, 2, 3, put my decimal point. So I have 735.124. But I'm not done yet because I always, again, have to ask myself, is my answer positive or negative? I come up here. I have a negative times a negative. That outcome is going to be positive. So my answer is 735.124. And that is it.